4321, 4321, 4321, 4321. Hello! It's Tomes and Tunes. I've missed you. We were off last week for the Thanksgiving holiday. I hope you had a safe and joyous Thanksgiving celebration, whatever you were doing. And we are back this week with Tomes and Tunes, just a few more episodes taking us through the end of the year, or actually right up into Christmas time. And I am your host, Arielle Silver. This is my weekly show, started 30 weeks ago to talk about books with songwriters and do a little song swap. So welcome. Episode 30, I had a last minute cancellation and I called up my friend Ann Stott. She was on the show a couple of weeks ago. She is a songwriter and an actor and an activist from out in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, one of my favorite places on the planet. And here I am in Los Angeles. And I called her up and asked her if she would be a last minute guest again on the show because she's doing some really cool stuff right now. It's interesting to me to hear and talk about artists and their creative process, particularly in this time of the strangest year, probably for most of us, deeply sad, anxious, overwhelming, uncertain year that we have just navigated almost entirely. And I'm just uplifted and excited by artists who are figuring their way, how to create music, create whatever their art is really, but songwriters, they got my heart. Creating music during this time and figuring out how to talk about it, how to share it, what are they doing. So very excited to invite back to the show Ann Stott. I'm going to bring her in right now. Hello, Ann.
Arielle.
Long time no see.
I know. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for stepping in last minute, and I'm really excited about some of the stuff you're doing right now, but I want to share one important thing as a follow-up to our last conversation.
Oh, okay.
Which is that I finished my last journal in this time, and I have now started another one, volume 50. So that is just to...
You started your 50th journal?
50th journal. Well, there was a whole, like series that happened before volume 1 of this series. So yeah, this is but 50 of this series, which I started in college.
Well, and I've been meaning to tell you this for weeks actually. So we talked about the fact that I burn my journals when I'm done with them and you do not. And we both have philosophy and deep feelings about this, and we had fun.
And you're wrong, but anyway.
And you're holding on to past energy that's just weighing you down. But whatever, it's fine. So after that conversation, it was my birthday, right? And on my birthday, I burned some journals, including a journal from the spring that was part of a workshop thing that I did. And then I was communicating with the coach of this workshop, and she was like, well, go back to your journal where you wrote the blah, blah, blah. And literally, this has never once happened in my life. Never once. As I said on the show before, I've had no regrets, zero remorse. I don't look back. I'm fine burning the journals. But it was so funny that we had that conversation, and then within a week, I got this feedback of go look. And luckily, whatever it was I had written, I had emailed to her. So I found it in my emails anyway, so it wasn't lost, but it was very funny that came around.
That is really funny. And I know that you are not going to change your behavior because you are solidly there. And meanwhile, I'm on volume 50 and going to keep proceeding. But in anticipation, you and I just decided to have you back on, very recently. And I forgot that for a moment, I thought, I'll pull out the journal with the silver shirt, black pants, coming home from the dance club, see if I could find that song again. But anyway, so
I almost wore my silver shirt. I have a silver shirt in honor of that conversation. But I'm a little worried that the video wouldn't pick it up well, that we would be like, rah, 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 with a silver shirt. So I forwent the silver shirt.
I did wear a white shirt on one episode I think it was this, and I was glowing. It was very bright.
No, video, red, silver, certain patterns, not good.
Ooh,
and then,
good enough.
And then there's good quality video, and then there's like our computer or whatever we're using, right? So
What? This isn't. What's wrong with this? Okay, so episode 30. This is Tomes and Tunes. Obviously, one of the things that I have been doing this year during this time. But you have been gearing up for your 10th anniversary of the release of your album Pennsylvania, and you've been doing a lot of work on that the last few months, and then you also have a new thing that you're working on
just today, I
right now.
just launched.
Yeah, will you share a
Yeah,
little
so
bit?
I've put out a couple of videos and like new versions of songs and stuff in relation to the 10-year anniversary of my album Pennsylvania, which has been really fun. And there's actually one more video that might not come until January now. I'm not sure, but in the meantime, I have a Patreon page which I've had for a bunch of years, and I really love that site, and I love that they really cracked the code on crowdfunding and how artists can have like ongoing relationships with their fans. And I know people have gone a lot of different directions since Patreon started, but I like that community a lot. So I have a Patreon page, and I am doing a sort of Patreon drive, a Patreon campaign, whatever, for the next few weeks, where if you join my Patreon page at the $5 per thing level, you get a bandana.
I'm very excited about this.
It's a Love Never Dies bandana. Ooh.
I can't wait for mine.
Yeah, you're getting yours.
Yeah.
And I call my Patreon page my posse, my Patreon posse. So now everyone will have a bandana, and you really need a bandana to be in a posse, I think.
So, what do you do with bandanas? Like you? Like, how do you like to use them?
Well, it's funny because this might engender a return to my 20s when I wore them on my head, very like 20-something dyke, 90s, whatever.
Did you wear it as the house cleaning version with the triangle tucked in, or did you wear it as a band or band?
I wore it at the house cleaning version.
Okay.
And then now I do use bandanas. Like, I know bandanas aren't as good as masks, but if I'm going out and I know I'm only going to be outside, I use bandanas. And then if I'm going to be inside, I use masks. But I've been using bandanas a lot when I go out. Like, if I go out to take a walk and where I live, I can get to the harbor, but I cross Commercial Street, and the law right now is that you wear some kind of face covering on Commercial Street. So, I wear it in situations like that. So I actually am using bandanas a lot right now.
Totally.
As are we all.
Yeah, I use them all the time when I go out.
Mostly use them, right? You do the fold version and make a mask out of them, right?
I need to be better at that as the numbers are going up. I need to get back to doing that when I go to the store. When I go out for my, just being outside, going for a walk, I wear it just cowboy style, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to do that triple fold with the extra protection.
I think you do for inside right now. I think you do, especially in California.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
tough
California.
times. I want to say that a few weeks ago, maybe longer than that now, you said, P.S., besides all of the work that we're doing, work that we're doing for our creative careers, and also, whatever side hustles we have, you said, P.S., we're also surviving a pandemic right now. And I have thought about that every single day since. And P.S., we're also surviving a pandemic right now.
Yeah, my friend Grove said that in the spring. She was like, we're not working from home. That's not what's happening. We're at home surviving a pandemic. And if we get some work done in the process, that's great. And you get a lot of work done, girl.
I try to stay focused. It keeps me from spiraling into just like the depths of despair. Joseph DeRusha says, I always wear a bandana in my pocket so I can feel like Bruce Springsteen.
Joseph, we were just talking about Bruce Springsteen this morning. you channeled our conversation. That's fantastic. But you better be careful, Joseph, if you go into gay neighborhoods. There's a whole code around bandanas in back pockets. So just know that you might be sending a message you don't want to send if you're in a gay neighborhood with a bandana in your back pocket.
I want to see if Joseph has any further comments about
I
that.
know. I really want to know how Joseph takes that.
And I also want to acknowledge the fact that we are surviving a pandemic, and 8 months ago, us talking about bandanas and masks and what we have to do when we go to the store versus cross commercial street. There was so much emotion wrapped up in all of that every time. I feel like it was just like, talk about the depths of despair. It was like, it made me so sad every time I went to the store and I saw everybody wearing masks and I was looking at people's eyes, and there was just this, at least my interpretation, my eyes looking at their eyes. I just felt like we were all shocked, shell-shocked, confused. Now, it's like, okay, put your mask on, go to the store, get your groceries, come home. And it's become a little bit more like, yeah, you brush your teeth before you go to bed and you wear a mask when you go to the grocery store, just like a thing you do right now.
It's actually pretty incredible how adaptable we are, right? Like that, because I remember, like we did a big shop. I did a couple big shops and then didn't go to the store for 2 weeks. And then I went to the store and it was so emotional to go to the grocery store. Like it was scary and hard and sad and weird and disturbing, and it stayed like that for a couple months.
Yeah.
And now, like you said, it's like, okay, I'm putting on my mask, I'm going to the store. The big difference, one, we've acclimated, for those of us who have acclimated. But the big difference is that we now know that surfaces are not the danger we originally thought they were. That helps dramatically.
Yeah, more information. You're right. When I would go to the store back then, I couldn't schedule anything else that day because I didn't know what kind of mental state I was going to be in when I got home. And I needed, like an hour or two or whatever it was to like self-care afterwards, just like decompress, let the emotions move through my body, whatever it is that I needed. Now it's like I'm still only going to the store once every 2 weeks, but now it's more of a scheduling question. It's like, okay, I have a Zoom meeting at 9 and I have a Zoom meeting at noon. So, if I go to the store at 10, is it going to be super crowded? I don't want it to be crowded. I want to go in there and not a lot of people. So, it's more like scheduling there. We got the update or the follow-up from Joseph. So thank you, Joseph.
Good to know you get lots of attention in gay neighborhoods, no matter what.
Joseph is a great guy. Love that you're here, Joseph. So anyway, Anne, going back to what you're you got your bandanas. You're gonna wear it as a mask. You might wear it as a do-rag.
Exactly. I could wear two at the same time if I wanted.
You like your t-shirts, you could double up.
I could double up, exactly.
Yeah.
I just.
Ooh. How do people sign up for your Patreon? Is it?
So it's patreon.com/TheAnneStott. Thank you. I love hearing you click away over there.
Yeah. There we go. So if you want a bandana from Anne, and if you also want to support the work that she does, Anne, I'm just going to toot your horn for a minute, because she is a songwriter, but she is an activist as well. And Anne does some spoken word, some conceptual art, but really like there's a social activism bent, and I have been really enriched. I am a patron of Anne's, and I have been really enriched by the work that she's been doing in the world, especially during this year. I didn't know Anne actually before COVID, and so it's like it's all wonderful. Plus, she has been also writing haikus, and I want to say I really enjoy your haikus, and I love when you include commentary about the haiku. I know that you don't necessarily always do that, but I did not sign up. I did not become a patron of yours for the bandana because you didn't have bandanas at the time. But now you're doing this campaign where if people sign up for your Patreon by
December 18th.
they get one of your.
They get at the $5 level, they get a bandana. At the $10 or higher level, they get two bandanas. Two, not just one.
And they come in multiple colors, right?
Yeah, there's a black on gray and a white on black. And they say "Love Never Dies" all over them, which is the name of my 2015 album. Here's the black on gray, which got a little wrinkled. Your bandana won't be wrinkled like this. You have to tell me which one you prefer, if you want white on black or black on gray. So yeah, I'm excited. I just feel like there's a, it's interesting because gearing up to do this campaign, I went back and looked at a lot of other people's Patreon pages and watched their intro videos, and everybody talks about this, like from, Amanda Palmer, who has over 13,000 patrons and makes like, I think $40,000 per thing she puts out, to like the people with 50 patrons. Like, everybody talks about the fact that obviously you start it for the money, and the money is vital, but there's something deeper that happens in that community and in the fact that people give you their trust that way, and there's nothing you have to chase as an artist there. You're not trying to get more streams, you're not looking to book the gig, you're not, like, there's so much work we have to do to put ourselves out there. And in this space, like, obviously we have to do work to tell people we have the Patreon page and, make it fun for them to come in and whatever. But once people are there, the support creates a kind of home base, or like, I don't know, in therapy they would talk about a holding environment, right? But like a safety and a support that actually is as important emotionally and creatively as it is financially. And everybody talks about it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really powerful. It's really powerful. So I feel, and then I know people now do their own subscription services on their websites to like not pay Patreon the fee, which isn't high, but saving money and all of that. But I really love being part of that community. Like, there are tons of great musicians on there, but then there are like journalists and feminist bloggers and graphic artists and like video essay makers, like this woman, I'm really into film, and there's this woman, she goes by Be Kind Rewind on YouTube, and she makes video essays about Oscar winning actresses, like that's her thing. And or that's the organizing principle of her video essays anyway. I think she's into film as a larger thing than just Oscar winning actresses. But she has a Patreon page, you know what I mean, where people support her videos being made, because you don't make enough money on YouTube to make these videos. I mean, these are very detailed, highly edited video essays. So I love the range of creators on Patreon, and I love being part of that world.
I like hearing that. Right now, December, what always happens this year is that you mentioned, you don't make a lot of money from YouTube, and it made me think about Spotify and etc. And at this time of year, Spotify releases to all of the music creators sort of stats about their catalog and their listeners, and where people are tuning in. Not too drilled down specific, but just like the countries and stuff like that. And
it's pretty. It's actually pretty specific information for the.
Well, meaning it's not like people's addresses.
Right,
yeah.
Or names. But
Right.
I mean, I will say that's the one reason I sort of don't completely give up on Spotify, is that they give you all this data that Apple Music doesn't come close to giving you that amount of information. They pay you more money, and I'd rather they pay you more money than give you the data, but it is interesting to have the data. Anyway, go on, I interrupted you.
Well, I've been thinking about this, I mean, there was this one paradigm that lasted for a really long time, which was like a direct relationship. We as music creators created music and sold it, and music listeners bought it, which, you know, songwriters or music creators have frequently not been on the have often gotten the short end of the stick, I should say, regarding the music industry. But I hear a lot of songwriters right now when Spotify's coming out with their year-end summaries, criticizing Spotify about how much money they pay out per stream, and it is definitely an issue, a big issue, a problem, and one that we should be complaining about and raising awareness of. But I also feel like there's this other thing that I hear from songwriters, which is an anger that music is now free, and you know, how are they supposed to make a living with music? And every single time I hear people talk about that, I think, well, what we're creatives, and the industry as a whole has changed, and maybe it's not, maybe it doesn't, maybe we're pissed about it, you know, but it is what it is. And so how can we then accept that while still trying to make it better, but still, like, you know, on Thursday, accept that it's not going to change by Thursday, um, and use our creativity to think about other ways to support the making of our art, and you know, to support paying rent. And this Patreon thing is a really, you know, it's a great example of other creative ways that artists and creators in general are helping to build community and create their art, and have it be a reciprocal relationship where the people um, who really value what you're doing can share that value with you, you know, in financial backing at just $5 a project or whatever it is, which is not a lot, you know, so that you can continue to put things out in the world. And it's just this, like, I don't know. I just love the creativity, the different ways that that artists are making it work. You know, and that is what we do. We are creatives. You know, so
Yeah.
um,
I so want to go down the Spotify rabbit hole, but Joseph's asked a really good question about Patreon, which is, do you ever get a negative reaction from people when you tell them about it? I think some people take it almost as if you're telling them about some multi-level marketing scam and not your own work.
oh, that's a
I
really great question.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get the multi-level marketing scam. I get this sort of like old school, like, why do you think people should just give you money kind of attitude. And you have to explain to them, like, you're not just giving me money, you're paying me. Like, on Patreon, you can do one of two things. You can have, as a creator, you can have a subscription service where people pay you per month no matter what, and you give them whatever rewards you've committed to giving them, whether or not you create anything beyond that. Or you can set up your account, which is how I do it, per thing I make. And so from that standpoint, when people say to me, like, I just don't really get why all these kids today, you know, think that someone should just give them money just because, and it's like, well, that's not what I'm doing. But that's interesting about the marketing scam. What I do get too is just like confusion, and I think some of this is generational. I think maybe people under 40 are just more accustomed to all these different platforms where people interact. But I get a general, like, what? You know, like, huh? I don't understand kind of thing going on. And I've just decided to sort of put in the work to educate people and hold people's hand through that process if they're willing to. And I might lose people, but honestly, I don't know where else I would get them. Like, I could do my own subscription service on my website, but there might be some of the same confusion, and I don't think there's anywhere else that sort of offers this opportunity for artists to have revenue directly from fans in quite this way. So it's just there is education involved for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's interesting what you said about the demographic for 40 and under versus 40 and up. Yeah, because it's been a paradigm shift. And
Totally.
we just have to educate our demographics, since I have a feeling both of us have a lot of um, a lot of members of our audience that are in that older crowd.
I do.
Yeah.
So I gotta like. So what I'm doing, I launched this today. Like I literally just posted everywhere right before we got on here, and I emailed to my list. And what I'm doing is I'm gonna do a Zoom call for people who are confused or have questions. I'll do a Zoom call with them next week and like walk them through and maybe even screen share with my Patreon screen and
I love that. That's great. Very smart.
yeah, so people can like get there with me if they want to. And then some of my posting over the next few weeks will just be talking about Patreon and how cool it is and how important it is because there's so much to say about Spotify and honestly it really does go back to Napster. Like nobody's saying books should be free. Nobody's saying movies should be free. Nobody's saying art should be free. They're saying music.
Journalism though. Yeah, but journalism has become free now too. So it's like New York Times, you can read the New York until all of the papers, they had to do a pivot at some point. It was like
you can get 5 articles in a month.
Now you can. They started to put up those paywalls. Yeah.
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 So I don't, like if music's going to be free, then we have to figure something out, right? Like, and it basically is free because the two primary ways people consume it now is streaming or watching videos. And I like making videos. I'm an actor too, and I'm a film lover, and I've directed or co-directed most of my videos, and I really enjoy that creative process in and of its own right. So I'm into that. But first of all, I'm not at the point on YouTube where I can monetize my page, and secondly, even when you can monetize your page, I don't think it adds up to funding videos. So for these people, I mean, this is the bitter side. Like, you want to stream on Spotify all day long, knowing that no money is going to artists, and then say like, why are you asking for money in this other place? It's like, well, actually, we have to do something,
Yeah. Let's see what Joseph has to say. I didn't leave people out in the streets to rot. I don't think it would be such a bad thing if art and music were free. Yeah, Joseph, there are a lot of ills for sure.
No, if we want to have a conversation about how all art should be free, I'm down with that. Like, I'm way down with that. What I'm not down with is music should be free and musicians are hung out to dry. Like that and I think that simply grows out of Napster and then the record labels not getting on the bandwagon fast enough, being behind the 8 ball and letting the internet companies take them for a ride and not protecting artists. Like I that's what happened. So yeah, I would love all art to be free, and I would love to, even like in Europe, like they subsidize art. They subsidize art.
That's taxes, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. And I would pay those taxes to have more art for sure.
Yeah, art funding and also, Joseph, to speak to what you mentioned, also funding for mental health services and housing unhoused people, and yeah,
exactly,
all those issues. Well, Anne, we could talk all day on this, but it is Tomes
Where is
and
our
Tunes.
creativity podcast? When are we
I know. We got to start that. I know. I was thinking about that. We're going to get a podcast going. Well, we are sort of on a podcast right now, Tomes and Tunes, which brings us to our next subject. Yeah.
So, Joseph, let's connect. Like, friend me or
subscribe to her Patreon so that you can see how she does it.
Yeah, totally. You have a Patreon for your origami accessories. I cannot tell you, Joseph, how that one sentence fills my heart with love and joy. You have filled my heart with love and joy right now. See, that's what I love about Patreon. And then there's Joseph making origami accessories. So good.
So good.
Yeah.
Joseph is a phenomenal musician, by the way. He and I used to be in a band together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he.
What was the band called?
It was actually Daniel Stewart's band. It was a kirtan band, and Joseph played flute, alto flute, mostly Joseph, right? I don't know if you ever brought out any of the others. Um, so yeah.
Love
Um,
kirtan.
so is that a book of poetry in your hands?
This is a book of poetry in my hand. So, as you know, I was a street performer in Provincetown for 5 years. So and you were a street performer in Cambridge many moons ago, and I have deep fondness for street performers. And the last few years in the summer in Provincetown, we've had a street poet, and his name is Kevin Devaney, and he sets up in front of Town Hall, and he has a little rig that he's got a little system he works out. He has a vintage. Wait, I can't figure out where the camera is. He has a vintage typewriter, and she has a name. I can't remember what her name is. And he has a little desk, and he looks sort of retro and vintage. He has a vest that he wears and stuff. And he sits there writing his poetry and making little books like this that he hand makes himself. And when people come by and talk to him, if you want him to, he will write a poem for you on any subject you ask about. And you give him the subject, and then you go away for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then you come back, and there's a poem, and you pay him what you feel it was worth. And so I've chatted with him many times. We're friendly. And I thought I'd read 2 poems because they're short. When we first got to know each other, I was working a lot on plastic bans in Provincetown because we're by the ocean and everything. And he had already written this poem called Plastic Bags. So were you going to say something?
I didn't hear what you said. Plastic bags, and I thought you said plastic bands.
I was working on plastic bans, banning certain plastics.
Oh, banning. Okay, and I heard it as BAND.
Oh.
S, and I was like, the way that you just threw it out made it sound like it was a really common thing, and I was like, what is this thing that I don't? I was going to ask, but then
banning plastics.
Okay, got it.
So here's Kevin Devaney, Plastic Bags. This is what I imagine the skin is like when God burns the roof of his mouth on some red-hot sin he's trying to swallow too soon before I'm done cooking it up. So he peels this waste from his palate after tonguing it for a week and a half, stuffing it into a grocery clerk's hands, stuff it into a wavering breeze, into some narwhal's nostrils, choking out ducks and grazing over desires like petroleum-based tumbleweed, undulating in air like Satan's jellyfish foreskin, this disastrous lightness, this ruined spirit of wing. Then, I love that poem.
What was that? Satan's tumbleweed?
Yeah, let's see. What is it? Where'd it go?
I always call them urban tumbleweeds.
Oh, nice.
When I see them
where was
floating.
the tumbleweed? I'll find it. It wasn't. It's Satan's jellyfish foreskin. And petroleum-based tumbleweed.
Petroleum-based.
Undulating in air like Satan's jellyfish foreskin. This disastrous lightness of being. So I bought this little book, and then I was like, ooh, plastic bags. And I said, can I read it out loud right now? And he said, yeah. And so I read it out loud, and then, there are people everywhere in the street, right? Isn't it beautiful, Joseph? Wandering by, and we just had this, like, kind of cocoon of poem silence around us in the aftermath of that. But then I was working, he dated it, September 2018. I was working on my one-woman show, Scorpio Blonde. So, of course, we got to talk about the fact that we're both Scorpios. And I was trying to write the end of the show at the time, which was about love. And so I commissioned him to write a poem about love, and I went away, and I came back. And I have it's on this little piece of paper, and on the back side is this little logo. So it's also lovely.
I love that.
It's so pleasing. And he has carbon copy paper So anytime he writes the poem, he does the 2 pieces of paper with the carbon copy in between so that he has a record of everything he's written, even though he's handing me the poem. It's just lovely. It's all so lovely. I know, it's good, right? I mean, when was the last time you saw carbon copy paper?
I love that.
It's probably been 25 years since I've seen a piece of carbon copy paper.
Yes.
I'm going to have to let Kevin know we were talking him up.
Yes, and the typewriter and everything, but with carbon copy, yay.
So good. So everyone go to Kevin Devaney on Instagram. He's not on Facebook much, but he's on Instagram. Kevin Devaney, Devaney on Instagram. You can follow him there. Scorpio Love for Anne. Is it my fierce heart that wants this ferocity, or is it a trick of hiding tenderness? My face is soft and relaxed in the hours of dawn when the light is the same, and in the brutal noon the far star grills its intense shine. And which am I to believe is the most truly like the love light? Is the most truly like the love light, shining from me, and by this illumination what may be seen? Can I read that again?
Yes, I was going to ask if you would.
I needed to read it more before coming on. I didn't rehearse enough. Scorpio Love for Anne. Is it my fierce heart that wants this ferocity, or is it a trick of hiding tenderness? My face is soft and relaxed in the hours of dawn when the light is the same, and in the brutal noon the far star grills its intense shine. And which am I to believe is the most truly like the love light shining from me, and by this illumination what may be seen?
Oh, thank you for reading that a second time.
Helps when you read it correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that
nice.
imagery of the light at the different times of day.
As metaphor for our different kinds of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. What are you reading, Arielle?
Well, I am going to read a translation of a Hafiz poem translated by Daniel Ladinsky, Hafiz the Sufi master. I realized that I have actually been yearning to read this, to share it with others for a few weeks now, and I feel like I did maybe to a yoga class or something like that, but this poem has become really important to me. I want to say I first encountered it maybe 12 years ago, and I just realized recently that it has actually become sort of a huge force in my life. It's called With That Moon Language, and it really says to the reader, hey, you know that thing that you desire, that thing that you're always asking of other people, that you wish the world would give you or whatever, that thing, give it to other people, because other people are wanting that thing. Like, and that shift from the I focus to the you focus, and being of service rather than asking to be served, I guess. I feel like this was I don't know if it was directly part of my healing to come back to playing music, but there was, at the same time that I encountered this poem, a shift from the beginning of a shift for me with music, seeing it as rather than the spotlight on the performer, which is obviously what you need when you're on a stage, but really the emotional spotlight is really on the listener. Who are you writing this song for, and why are you singing it? There's so much for me. There was so much anxiety when I would stand up on a stage years ago. This is all about me. And at some point it shifted, and I realized, oh, this is this is not about me at all. I was just the one who wrote it, and I hope that this hits someone's heart. I hope it heals. So anyway, that was the poem is much shorter than my description. I was with that moon language. Admit something. Everyone you see, you say to them, "Love me." Of course, you do not say this out loud, otherwise someone would call the cops. Still, though, think about this great pull in us to connect. Why not become the one who lives with a full moon in each eye that is always saying, with that sweet moon language, what every other eye in this world is dying to hear? Why not become the one who lives with a full moon in each eye that is always saying with that sweet moon language what every eye in this world is dying to hear? And that to me is, it just, it's a mission statement. I feel like, yeah, I think about this poem all the time, and I just recently wanted to start sharing it.
Beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Daniel Ladinsky is he's just a wonderful translator of Hafiz. So
You reminded me this is a much harsher message much harsher version of the same message I flashed to when you were talking about the performing part. I used to take this performing class in New York. It was like a bunch of triple threats and me. It was all these Broadway musical theater people and me with my guitar singing Dylan songs and stuff.
Oh.
This was just when I was starting out again. And the teacher was complicated, but a very talented teacher. Like, she could find you and like pull you out. She was one of those people. Mm-hmm. But she would come in sometimes and she would be like, "This business is about giving. And if you don't want to give, you have no business being here." Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to lose, it's very easy to lose sight of that every day. It's like, oh, what do I want to say as a songwriter?
Yeah.
And what do I want to, but,
Yeah. This brings me back to that band that Joseph and I were in together, Daniel's Kirtan band. Daniel Stewart is the Kirtan Wala, and a dear friend of mine. And it was through Kirtan, which for any listeners who aren't familiar with it, it can be any musical genre, really. It can be blue-eyed soul, it can be traditional classic Indian music, which is where it came from, or it can be reggae. There's hip-hop kirtan, there's all different musical genres, but the lyrics of the songs are typically in Sanskrit, and it's frequently, although not always, a call and response kind of thing. And when we were, it's not so much a performance as an experience. It's not so much it's not about the performers. It's about the co-creation of an experience with the attendees. And those of us who were in the band were in the band, and those of us who were in the audience were in the audience. But it was really, since it was a call and response, it was very, the room would just be filled with music. And there was so much emotion in that room. Every time we were in that room, there was just so much emotion. Some people were joyful and celebrating something. Some people were in heartbreak and grief, and the music. And you're familiar with kirtan, I know, and so this experience. But it was singing for years in kirtan bands, both with Daniel. I sang with Garish a little bit. I had my own kirtan band, the Cosmic Kirtan, CKC. We never exactly knew what the last letter stood for, if it was connection or collective. It kind of went back and forth, but we played at yoga studios and yoga music festivals all over the place, and it was so healing, because it was through that I started to understand music as a service, and it was after years of that I was finally able to come back to doing, to writing songs, and it shifted it for me. It was beautiful. So
Yeah, I can see how that would do that. You know what else helps with that is when the few times, it hasn't happened that much because I'm not, like, I don't consider myself an instrumentalist in a serious way, but there have been a few times when I've been asked to be in other people's bands or play in other people's shows. And it's really interesting to be on stage and not be the person anybody's looking at, you know, and your whole job is to support this other person doing what they're doing so they can connect with the audience. You know, that's another moment where you really feel like, oh, I'm just being of service, and then to take that energy back into, you know, being the one at the microphone that people are watching, and how to, you know, keep that energy of sharing as opposed to look at me.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
being a support for whatever has to happen. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to be a support for you right now by offering the Tomes and Tunes platform for a song.
You are a support to me in so many ways, Arielle. So, but I would love to play a song. This is indeed from my 2010 album, Pennsylvania. And I never do this, but because Arielle likes it, I'm going to do it. So my first few months in Provincetown, I was having a very hard time. It was winter. I knew almost nobody, and I like wrote and listened to music and read all the time. That's what I came here to do. And I was watching one of the documentaries on Bob Dylan, I can't remember which one, and somebody who'd been in one of the bands or produced some of the albums in the 60s was like, well, I mean, people talk about people being touched by God, but, you know, take one look at Dylan and you know he's like kicked in the ass by God. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then I thought, I wonder what I am. And then the beginning of this song started to come to me. So that's how this song came to me. Angels in the corner, whispering my name. Sunsets going down every single day. Messages arrive undeciphered and unclaimed. Dreams are lost asleep while speaking unknown names. There's a blank wall hanging over me, waiting for its sign. There's a clock ticking endlessly that can tell time. There are days remembered so others could be forgot. Everything keeps spinning when I just wish it'd stop. I'm on the edge of what's the fine line of reason, with waves of dissent and daily hints of treason. There are secrets in the wind and a stillness in the park. Ghosts are rising from the asphalt. I'm prospecting for stars. My virginity ran rampant when I was 15. The reality of age was more than I could redeem. My name has been written in heaven and in hell. If I believed in either one, that'd be something to tell. I'm on the edge of what's a fine line of reason, with waves of dissent and daily hints of treason. There are secrets in the wind and a stillness in the park. Ghosts are rising from the asphalt. I'm prospecting for stars. Ghosts are rising in the park, stealing secrets from the dark. Ghosts are rising, it's long past dark. The wind is riding falling stars. Goodness hides in alleyways, waiting for the truth, who plays tricks on passers-by, expecting they'll do all the longing in the world. Won't bring sadness to an end, so Thank you.
Haunting.
Thanks. What do you got for us, Arielle? The notorious Arielle?
Prospecting for stars, is that the line?
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm on the edge of words, the fine line of reason, with waves of dissent and daily hints of treason. There's secrets in the wind and a stillness in the park. Ghosts are rising from the asphalt. I'm prospecting for stars.
I like that.
Thanks.
I've got some imagery in my
Joseph.
mind.
Oh, thanks, Charmin.
Do we have Charmin in the house
Charmin's
too?
in the house.
Hi, Charmin. I know I didn't tell the watchers to be sure to comment in the box, otherwise we don't see them. So if you've been watching, if you're listening, say hello in the chat box. I've got a holiday song. Actually, it's a breakup song. It's a song about
The best kind of holiday song.
yeah. Aw, Charmin.
Oh, Charmin.
I just got to put that up there on the screen. So nice. Thanks, Charmin.
Means so much coming from you, Charmin.
So breakups happen. They happen whenever they happen, whether it's Christmas time or Flag Day. This song came out of a friend of mine was on her. She was at the end of a long relationship, and she was talking to me. It probably took her a year or two for the relationship to actually end, and through that that last year or two, she was. It was in slow motion. She had to untangle things and understand her situation and understand that it wasn't, temporary, the dip down. It was a long relationship, so it's hard to tell when you're in a long relationship. There's going to be ups and downs. So she was having a hard time figuring that out, and we were friends the whole time and in conversation about it. And it reminded me of a time that I had been in a relationship that, in the end, dissolved right around the holidays. And so her story triggered my story, and this is what came out of all of that. How's the sound?
Sound great.
There's something about the carols, or something about the booze, that makes me think I got nothing left to lose. 'Cause the Yule log's burning brightly, but I'm here on Christmas Eve, thinking maybe it's time for me to leave. Every station's playing I'll Be Home for Christmas. How the melody once filled me with good cheer, but with every glass you pour I feel more sorrow. In this house it's a lonely time of year. I hung up borrowed stockings from a hook above the hearth, wishing the year would end with a fresh start. But there's tinsel on my suitcase, I hear the mistletoe. Well, maybe it's time for me to go. Every station's playing I'll Be Home for Christmas. How the melody once filled me with good cheer, icy two-lane blacktop. My wallet short on cash. I always have a reason holding me back. While the snow falls like confetti, I'm weeping on the tree, 'cause the truth is I'm longing to be free. And that star up in the night sky that's shining through the snow, think it's telling me it's time for me to go. Every station's playing I'll be home for Christmas. How the melody once filled me with good cheer, but with every glass you pour I feel more sorrow. You may be home, but you're never really here. In this house it's a lonely time of year.
Beautiful, Arielle. Beautiful song. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, really. Yeah, really beautiful song.
You know, sometimes when you sing your own songs, you've sung them so many times that you're singing. Like you're singing the song. There's a lot to think about when you're singing a song, but then other times you kind of go back and you really remember the seed of the song. You remember that situation that you were in. And you know, it's funny how songs can transport us. Because I just wrote that song, I don't know, last year or something like that.
Oh.
And, but to be transported back in time to that situation and just sort of remembering that feeling during the holiday season of the end of a relationship. Yeah. Charmin, bah humbug. Hello, Mark from Dallas. Bah humbug is right. Charmin, thank you. So on that cheery holiday note.
Charmin, I make it kind of a point to not do holiday songs at holiday events. Like like the theater here in town where I act, they do a towny holiday thing where I sing a song, and I always, I introduce my songs as my job is to be here for the people who are feeling lonely and anxious at the holiday time. And then I sing a ballad, about, loneliness, basically.
Yeah,
there are people who feel that way. And then it's harder when everybody's like, be happy, it's the holidays,
Totally. Yeah. It's really tough when you're going, I mean, not this year. This year puts a different spin on this idea of lonely time of year to me.
Totally.
It's a very different situation. My heart really breaks for the people who are in that situation that I was in, or that my friend was in, or, they're just in a relationship that is not working, and they're here at this time in COVID holiday season when there's not even the getting out of your own home and the stew that you might be in. That's hard. But it's, in any year when you're feeling super complicated and tangled up about something, and then you're, it's like jingle bells everywhere and eggnog, and everybody's like, hi, how are you doing? Everybody, Americans ask that question all the time. Hey, how are you? That's a really confrontational question when you're in the muck.
It's true. We should be more careful about that, shouldn't we?
Yeah. Oh, Charmin, Santa Claus is not coming to town.
Maybe you should write that one, Charmin.
Charmin is such a great songwriter. Love your
Totally.
songs, Charmin.
Yeah.
Well, Anne, thank you for being here for another episode of Tomes and Tunes. You were the very first person on the show before it was even a thing. And
Before it even existed, I know. We should do the anniversary Tomes and Tunes together.
oh,
In
the
April
like
or whenever
the
it was.
50th week, the 50th, yeah, whatever date that is. Yeah, we'll do it. Or
Okay.
maybe I'll just have you back every you know, like today's the 30th episode, so you were the 30th guest. Maybe it'll be like in every 30 guests, every 30
There you go.
episodes we get Ann Stott back.
I'm down whenever you want me. I'm
Or whenever I have a last minute cancellation and I'm
Well, there's
like,
that, too.
I could cancel a show or I could call you up and see if you would be up for it. So thank you so much for joining.
Always
Do you
a
have
pleasure.
so before you go, I just want to share that link one more time for your Patreon, because you're doing this huge push right now and you have these awesome bandanas that for anybody that signs up at the $5 level for your Patreon, they get one of these, which they need to protect themselves from COVID and also to remind themselves that love never dies. You can put it in your back pocket and flag, whatever it is you're trying to flag, or you can put it across your face to protect yourself. You can wear it as a do-rag, whatever you need.
Whatever you need.
And then
come
also,
check out my Patreon page. Yes, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
also you have a monthly live stream that you do.
I do. I have a monthly live stream called Half Midnight Full Moon. As you said the other day, I have branded the moon. So I go live on the full moon from 11:30 to midnight Eastern time. We just had a show last week, and they're all up on my YouTube page, so you can watch them there, which is youtube.com/AnnStott. And then the next one, I believe, is December 30th.
Oh,
29th or 30th. Ooh, I should have looked that up before.
yeah.
Which
Okay,
will
but
be
end of
the full moon at the heart of the winter, right? Will be like in the deepest,
solstice
darkest
moon.
time of year. So that'll be powerful, right? The
Yeah.
darkest time of year, the fullest moon. Can't get much better than that.
No,
Gets
that's
my little
rich.
Scorpio heart beating faster.
That's rich.
Yes.
Okay, so everybody follow Anne on Patreon and join me in her audience for Half Midnight Full Moon at the end of December. And Anne, I will say goodbye to you right here, but you stick around in the green room.
Okay.
And I will say goodbye to all y'all right here. Thank you so much for being here. Charmin and Joseph and Mark, thank you for chatting in the box, and anybody else who chats in the box in the replay, thank you for being here. This is the weekly show, Tomes and Tunes. Next week, I am super crazy excited to have as my guest for week 31, Arthur Autumn. He is a force here in the Los Angeles music scene, and I am very excited to talk with him. And I will be live tomorrow at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern on Facebook and YouTube for my Arielle's Acoustic Happy Hour weekly show. And that'll be episode, goodness gracious, 35. So that's it. I will see you next time. Until we meet again, please take care, be safe, and that's it. See you next time. Bye.